Well, hello internets. Here we are. We got another one of them voiceover vlogs. Well, we been keeping on and going, doing the best we can. Trying to, recover and survive. My auntie has been wonderful. She's been bringing me food and fluids and continuing to look after Mum's apartment and her animals because, well, I still can't get over there to look after them myself. I have not been able to venture far from, well, my facilities over here. I have had some really, really rough days. It all seemed to come to a point here a couple of days ago when I come to the conclusion that I have to let go of some of the things that I've been hanging on to. Not necessarily physically hanging on to, but emotionally hanging on to. You know, when you get treated unfairly, get the short end of the stick, get shafted on things, and you are powerless to defend yourself. The only tool that you have at your disposal is to hold on to bitterness, to not give forgiveness, to essentially allow whatever those events were to live essentially rent-free in your head. And I've had a lot of things happen to me in what's been here the last 7-8 years that I never really dealt with. I never really let go of. They just kept piling one on top of each other, one more on top of each other, not dealing with the original one and then piling another one on top of that one. As some of you may know, I had the workplace accident. I was mistreated by my employer, mistreated by the HR person. Possibility had a very, very corrupt or poor WCB case manager. And there were reports that were filed and sent to WCB explaining everything that was going on. My employer had told me that I was not allowed to talk to WCB. I was only allowed to talk to their HR person. And me not really having any major WCB incident before this with a large company of this type, I had no idea what to expect, so I went along with it, right? And as some of you may know, I was still doing full work duties, well, still with a broken hand, still with injuries. And then after my surgery, I only had maybe a week off, maybe 2 weeks off. I forget, I'm not sure on that time. It's been quite a while now. And then they had promised that they were going to hire essentially muscle, and I would just do the driving. And I probably shouldn't have even have been driving, but the low budget muscle they hired was very unreliable, very incompetent, and when I would, the muscle would not show up for their shift, or they would not come back after lunch, or they would not lift like they were supposed to lift. And of course, I was not supposed to be lifting at all. However, my work ethic and my customer drive would not allow me just to stand there and say, well, I can't do my job. I can't do what needs to get done. You know, the customers have to either do without their freight or come get it themselves. And like I said, I was still doing full work duties while, you know, in the surgery cast still, which was totally unacceptable. And as many of you know, that did not work out. I've had to, well, recover on my own. I've got long-term effects. There was no retraining as I was promised. There was no help like I was promised. There was no compensation like I was promised. And it essentially led to, or helped lead to, the downfall of everything I had ever worked for. You know, the second thing was, well, the financial trouble that I went through because of the workplace trouble, the workplace incident. Because I was honest with the bank and told them what was going on, the bank got all angry and upset, because suddenly you have a guy that is on WCB that has no steady source of income coming in like he once had. You know, going to the city, losing appointments, being thrown back through the physio program, not bringing in nowhere near what you once brought in, barely being able to pay your bills or your mortgage or your vehicle payments, things like that causes strain. And as a result, my long-term relationship I was in fell apart. She could not handle what was going on. And as a result, my long-term relationship started to show cracks, started to show strain. And we did our best to survive as long as we could. However, you know, you only can survive for so long. In 2016, my dad passed away. And my dad played a big part in my life. I looked after my dad. I was my dad's, or one of my dad's, primary caregivers for many years, and my dad's primary caregiver for the final years, essentially. And when I lost my dad, I not only lost my best friend, but I lost essentially what felt like my son, because I had looked after my dad for 20 years of my life. He lived with us. My wife and I essentially had a whatever dad would have been, a 50-some-year-old child at times, you know. And looking back on all this, you know, that caused a lot of strain on a new relationship. And when dad passed away, it added another layer to all the confusion and chaos that was going on in my life. Another layer of problems that were unresolved and undealt with. In 2017, you know, I had a little bit of glimmer of hope. I spent some money on the house, replaced the hot water heater, replaced the furnace, replaced the soffit fascia, did some repairs to the roof where it had damaged itself over the years. You know, I did everything I could to make ends meet, to keep things going. However, relationship-wise, things continued to decline. We started sleeping in separate beds because she claimed that I was keeping her awake at night with tossing and turning and stuff like that. So once she started sleeping in another bed, that became even more distant, even more strain on our relationship. Once a person starts doing that, things become, well, kind of on a one-way track, right? I'm not 100% sure about things that I found on her iPad when I was doing updates and stuff to it. However, if you found those kind of photos and chats on your iPad, there'd be definite questions about it. And when I searched and confronted the guy, he pretty much confirmed what was going on. And at the time, I did not understand how anybody could do what they did or what they could do. But all these years later, through all of this, I've had time to think. And even though I can't understand why she did it, I know that I wouldn't have done it. I would have stood beside her right until her last breath, which there was times where I was definitely close to that. And however, she chose to go a different way, a different path. She chose to she chose her freedom, essentially, over standing by someone she claimed to have loved once so greatly. And it took me many years to realize this, many years to forgive her for what she's done, and to let go of all that. And once I let go of the bitterness from WCB, from my employer, from my ex, from the bank, even from the shysters at the real estate office and the bank, I'm sure there was something going on there, but looking back, it pretty much ended the way it had to end, the way it was going to end. Especially because I couldn't bring myself to make the choice years earlier to sell the house. This was the only way it was going to end. And once I gave forgiveness to those people, things happened to change in my life. I started feeling a little bit better. My symptoms started to have lessened, got a lot better. I am still having mobility issues. I have had a couple of falls. Once was walking the dog. I fell down the stairs, and I'm really sore from that fall. And the other one was plugging in the fans when I had a really high temperature during my worst of it, and I fell once more and broke my travel laptop. So I guess I'll be laptop shopping sometime in the future, or be for my next big road trip. I had a lot of rough days there, and I came really close to, well, calling in an ambulance and going to the hospital. However, I knew if I went to the hospital, things would get a lot worse. There'd be a lot more issues and a lot more problems. You know, the person that is looking after my mom's apartment in Critters, I didn't want to pile more, what do you want to call it, on them, because they're doing the best they can, being all this dumped on them as well. And I know my dog needs to be walked every 4 to 5 hours or so, especially if she asks to go out sooner, And I'm a little bit stubborn. I just plain and simple did not want to go to the hospital, even though I probably should have. Having very close to being dehydrated, to the point where cough candies won't dissolve in your mouth, pounding back liters of fluids to try to stop myself from being dehydrated. A never-ending thirst of being dehydrated. You know, I filled 2 large whatever they are, contractor bags. I swear they're like 3 feet wide or so and 5 feet deep, full of bottles of things that I've drank to stay hydrated during these first few weeks here. And I've done everything I can to stay out of the hospital, because from what I'm being told, the hospital is overwhelmed and stretched as it is, and I am pretty sure that I don't need to be there taking up a bed, because I am feeling dehydrated, not able to keep anything in, not able to function, have a nasty headache, have issues with my breathing. You know, I probably should be. I don't recommend anybody not seeking medical help when they get sick, especially to the degree that I am and I was. My mom is doing a lot better now that she is in the hospital. Her system is starting to settle down. They have bags upon bags and IV bags hooked up to her, from what I am told. She still has trouble texting, and I haven't spoken to her since like a day after she went into the hospital, and her texts are a little bit incoherent at times. But if she's going through or has gone through the same things that I am going through, I can understand why she is having the trouble she is, especially since her system had shut down so far, so much more than mine did, due to the fact that, well, I carry around a little extra storage now and again for things like this. All I know is, life is fragile. Life changes unexpectedly, and if you're holding bitterness against anyone or any loved ones or any family, to please let it go. Please give forgiveness. Please call them up. Tell them how you truly feel. Don't hold in. Don't have any regrets. Don't keep bitterness until it's too late. Don't miss time with family and loved ones in pursuit of things that really, in the grand picture of things, aren't important. But thanks for watching this here vlog. I'm not sure when I'll be able to do another check-in, but I will do the best I can. And we will talk to y'all in the future.